The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Bill Pucko with you here, and happy to be joined by the college sports beat's Dave Yates. Nice to have you back.
Thanks, Dave.
Along with Mike Catalana and Pat Duffy.
Oh.
Hey, it's Thanksgiving weekend. So what are some of the things, in a sports vein that we kind of feel good about this season?
I feel good about the Red Sox chances for next year. I'm already looking forward to it. After years of saying wait till next year, I really do feel good about the way they stack up and the way things look and some of their prospects.
And with Terry Francona and Dave Roberts getting Manager of the Year nods from the upbringing they had in the Boston culture.
It's all because of that. That's why they're so successful right now.
I'm sure it is, Mike.
I'm thankful that the other sports are making some inroads a little bit on the NFL. And I love the NFL, and I love covering it. It's had a rough year, and I won't pick on the commissioner for 30 seconds here. It'd be nice during the holiday. But it's nice that the NFL has come back to the pack a little bit. Like, I do think we're going to have a great finish, and I think we're going to have a great playoffs because it's the NFL. They end up on top anyhow. But it's nice to see. College basketball, I think, is in for a great year. I think the college football playoffs is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to the NBA playoffs. I think there's more good teams than have been given credit for. And baseball made a big comeback. So all that is a big plus. I think we have a lot more to watch, and it's nice when the NFL isn't totally the king.
How about you?
I am thankful, and I say this every year, that as a sports fan, I live in Rochester, New York, because everything you could possibly want from a sports perspective is just within arm's reach here. We're an hour away from the NFL and the NHL. You're 2.5 to 3 hours away from the NBA in Toronto or in Cleveland to go see one of the best basketball players that ever lived. We have fantastic Division I college basketball right down the thruway in Syracuse, Division I college hockey at RIT, and now you have local kids from Rochester in all the major Division I men's and women's college sports making names for themselves on television on a nightly basis, whether it's football, basketball, hockey, things of that nature. There's no better place in this country to live than Rochester, New York when it comes to professional, and I mean, don't forget the Amherst and the Red Wings, right?
Not forget the Thanksgiving Grinch. I don't know if Thanksgiving has a Grinch, but I've always maintained it, to Pat's point, that we're not much of a sports town because the two teams we care most about, Syracuse basketball and the Buffalo Bills, are an hour either side of us, and we're just left in the middle with what? What's our statement?
Well, I think we've become regional in that way, and I think people support. I mean, I think we have great fans for those teams. I think there's a frustration that it is not right here, and I think that is very different. There's very few moments that we've had right here in town that are as big as a Bills game or as big as a game at the Dome. So we are spread out that way. You don't feel it in the city in the same way. It's a pretty rare thing. I mean, like the Ryder Cup are the kind of times when it's been about us. But to Pat's point, there is a lot. And maybe in some ways that makes it a little easier to take because there are times it's a bit obsessive in those cities. So if you can look at that as a little bit of a negative. Now, that being said, when I was in Seattle a couple of weeks ago and seeing what it's like in that town when the Seahawks are having a home game, I do kind of miss that being right here in Rochester. And that's the one thing I think we're missing.
You're so entrenched with the college stuff, Dave. Is there anything that the local colleges can do to up our profile here?
I don't know. I mean, RIT's hockey program obviously has made a big step towards that, but I think it's tough to really get the appeal of the D3. I mean, from a purist standpoint and all that, it's fantastic, but as far as large-scale appeal, there's got to be a reason.
Well, the biggest difference is a Division III team or a Division III program has their fans, right? You go to that school, you work there, that's your fans. Division I program is usually a little different. RIT has started to get a little bit of that, where there's regular sports fans who go to the games. You go to Syracuse. I mean, obviously, the bulk of those people are not students at the university. They're there because it's Syracuse. Syracuse has fans all around the country. I think that's the biggest difference. I don't think you'll ever get that in any Division III program. While people would root for that team to do well, that enthusiasm usually comes from in a Division I program.
I kind of saved mine because I will be ridiculed for this, but I am most thankful for Tom Brady because he's the quarterback. because he is the quarterback of the team that I grew up rooting for, and that this team right now is in the greatest era they'll ever have. And, that team was as bad a franchise as ever existed. I mean, before this all happened for them. So I'm living in it right now.
Tom Brady.
They got the Red Sox and the Patriots in the same second. I kind of like that.
Worked out well.
We're going to talk some Buffalo Bills in the NFL next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. The Buffalo Bills Quote of the Week was brought to you by the Rochester Geico Office. Give the Rochester Geico team a chance to see how much you could save on all your insurance needs. Call or stop by the office on West Henrietta Road, open Monday through Saturday. Our Geico Rochester Quote of the Week, kind of an oldie but a goodie.
I love Marv. But it really is almost true because we'll use that phrase all the time. It applies to the Bills. It applies to everybody. Say, is it a must win? In a sports sense, it better be the game you have to win, like in the playoffs, in order to advance. At this point, sure, you got to try to win as many games as possible. But World War II was a big one for the USA.
It kind of was. It kind of was. And didn't Marv look great? We saw him at the World Series as a Cubs fan, at 90, north of 90. And
he is unbelievable. I remember working with the Bills and being at games and seeing him on the treadmill, and he was working. He was 80-some years old at the time, just flying on the treadmill. He is really an unbelievable man.
See, and weren't those days just as good as my Tom Brady days, right? Wouldn't you want to go back and relive that?
Why do I keep coming here?
That was the Geico Rochester Quote of the Week. This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Let's talk a little football. The big thing in the early part, or the first half of the NFL season, was concern that the audience was dropping, that they were losing interest in the league. It's kind of picked up a bit.
I did notice something. I'm so buried in the Bills, like you guys are too, that I very rarely get to watch other games. I'm either at the stadium because I have my season tickets, or I'm celebrating or brooding after the Bills are done. When the Bills had that bye week a couple weeks back, I got to sit and fully enjoy the slate of NFL games. And it was that week where it was like the greatest games of all time, right? Cowboys, Steelers, Saints, Broncos. I forgot how beautiful a game football is. Like, I almost wish I could stop being a Bills fan. It's not possible for me. I'm buried in it. I'm in love with these people. But the beauty of football is beautiful. I know that sounds stupid, but I think
sound stupid.
I think the problem is that so many people have a deep interest in their own teams that they're not seeing the sport for what it is anymore. They're getting angry with the refs for blowing calls that are going against them. They're getting upset with their coaches for screwing up on their players, and they're not fully seeing football for what it is, right? Does that make sense?
I agree to this extent, but I also think what's made football so good is there was a sense in the past that you could watch your team and then whatever else they put on, you were ready to go. And I do think the NFL's arrogance played into this. Too many games, too much of other things interfering with the games, and it's made it a bit annoying to watch. And that's what I really do hope for the league, that they take a big picture look at this thing in terms of the way the games are broadcast, how they set up the games, that whole Thursday night thing. There's a lot of things that's just a bit too much. We did have a great week the last week, and I think as the games get more important, people are going to love watching the game. People are still going to watch on Thanksgiving. People are still going to watch the playoff games and certainly the Super Bowl. But I think there's a lot, and I think the NFL has the power to do it because the league is so powerful, and they can streamline things a little bit. I think there's hope there. I'm just liking that they got knocked down a little bit.
You wonder if has fantasy football maybe kind of hurt viewership because you're paying more attention to what your guys are doing. There's so many people playing it. You're not really watching a specific game now. You're watching how your team's performing.
I tell you a quick fantasy football story. We're watching the end. It was a week and a half ago, whatever it was, when the Steelers played the Cowboys. Great ending of the game, and we're all around, all of us watching, and my stepson is sitting there, 15 years old, with his phone, tracking his team, including guys in that game. And I finally had to drag him up here and go, hey, it's right here. Let's watch the end of the game. And he's like, oh, I'm into it. I'm watching whatever. But his inclination was following, and there was another game going on. And I saw that, and I'm thinking, well, he's connected to the NFL but just turn right around here and watch it.
But to be fair to your stepson, if I was stuck in a room with you, I'd carry my face on my phone too. If we're gonna.
But that's like the new normalcy, though. I mean, you know that you say this is different now, but it's going to be what it is.
It is in part, but what you want is
And
people
the red zone channel.
people connected, but still paying attention to what is going on, right? And it was a great game, and it was a great ending.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like it or not is next. Here's a look at the standings for our NFL Picks contest, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. I maintain my lead with Pat and Mike tied for second, 2 games back. The winner of this contest will have a donation made in his name to Hunter's Hope. This week, Greg Connors selecting for the Connors and Ferris team, which is now 9-13 after a 1-7 start. The Press Box Trivia Question brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress, now $977. Save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. Here's a look at the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Sleep City. Queen adjustable bed with memory foam mattress. Now $977. You save over $500. Shop Rochester's only locally owned mattress store. No pressure, no hassle sales experience. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Pat, like it or not, the Buffalo Bills, on a list of dysfunctional NFL teams, finished 12th from the bottom.
I mean, that's fair, right? You're right in the middle. I think that's okay. I think the dysfunction of the Bills is vastly overrated. I mean, Rex and his name makes people think dysfunction immediately, but I think for the first time in a long time, and even more than last season, these guys like each other. Right? There's not a guy in the room that everyone looks at and goes, ugh. I mean, you're around the team, Mike, like we were on the team during training camp. These guys, everybody has their arms around each other. Richie Incognito, who has come from the bottom of the barrel back to being an NFL superstar, is a leader on this team, and his guys, they like him. I mean, do you think I'm wrong?
No, and I think LaShawn McCoy is the best example of that. After a year here, the way he is with his teammates, I do think it's a good environment with the Bills, better than it's been. I think the shame for the Bills is this whole streak. And I think if somehow 8 years ago they would have snuck into the playoffs and lost a game and did nothing, that would have been off their backs. This whole 16, 17 year thing has, I think, made them and made the fans be very impatient in terms of what's there. They have a right to be impatient, but it's that streak. It's those years. And it really would it have made a big difference if they snuck into the playoffs in 2004 and lost the first game? No, in the big picture, no. But it's the way it's hanging over the whole franchise, I think, has hurt them because everybody thinks of a team that can't get to the postseason.
I'd like lists and where this thing was coming from. It wasn't the Cleveland Browns that ranked last, right? It was the Indianapolis Colts, and they hung it on them for having Andrew Luck and doing nothing with it.
I would say there's a lot to that in terms of, but it's also a franchise because you have Andrew Luck. You can go forward a lot quicker than other places.
But how interesting is it now? 2-3 years ago when they unloaded Bill Polian, everyone applauded them. Get rid of that guy. Look what happened to your franchise.
Ryan Grigson's been a mess as a GM.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Like it or not, Dave, it's a baseball offseason. They're talking about the Yankees possibly pitching for Trout.
I don't like it as a Red Sox fan. Obviously, you put a talent.
Be above that.
I'll try and rise above that, although that's, it's kind of embedded in that. But, I mean, you get a lineup like the way that those young guys started playing last year at the end of the season. You had a guy like Trout to that, and that could be do some serious damage.
It seems like it's going to be an offseason of trades.
Yeah, I think Trout is the kind of guy. I think if you talk about Bryce Harper, I think he'll end up being a free agent. Trout could get traded. That is a terrible franchise with the Angels. They have made a mess of that. Their farm system is a disaster. Don't count out the Phillies in that mix. Trout is a South Jersey guy. The Phillies are loaded with prospects. If you follow Mike Trout, he has his Fly Eagles Fly emblem going all the time. they're the kind of team that could also, if you put Mike Trout on the market, the Phillies have a lot of prospects too, to go after a guy and bring him back home. He's really a Philly guy.
How do you call me a fanboy and then somehow connect Mike Trout going to Philadelphia to play for the Phillies?
He's at Eagles games all the
Your
time.
argument is he has a bumper sticker.
And they laugh at me
No,
with Tom
no,
Brady.
but my point is they are also, because of the trades they've made with Jimmy Rollins and Cole Hamels and all, they've loaded up their farm system. And that's the kind of deal the Angels are going to need to make if they're going to deal a guy like Mike Trout.
Okay.
Quickly, Mike, and I know where this is going. Like it or not, term limits for NFL officials, including the commissioner, a suggestion by Josh Norman.
Well, I don't go by much of what Josh Norman says. He just likes to talk all the time. No, I don't think there should be term limits for the people in charge of the NFL. And did he mean NFL officials or just the people
Front
who
office.
run the league? No, I don't think it should be term limits. I think you just need to
Goodell.
do it. But I'm saying is in terms of, look, I don't think he's doing a good job. And I would like to see somebody else in there, but I don't think it should be based on term limits. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that he's been in there too long. I don't like the job he does, whether he's been there 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I don't think it should be based on term limits. Can you imagine the NFL going, well, Josh Norman told us he can't be there any longer.
Yeah, but with the backing of Mike Catalana,
Yeah,
man, it's got
that's
some
true.
clout.
Roger, we're coming for you.
This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. Unfinished business is next. The Press Box Stat of the Week brought to you by Fiondoc and Fiondoc. Remember, if you've made the wrong choice, it's time to make the right choice. Fiondoc and Fiondoc, New York's DWI leader for over 35 years. Visit nydwi.com. Dunkin's Sweet Black Pepper Bacon Sandwich is back. With twice the crispy caramelized pepper bacon, experience a breakfast sandwich made for bacon lovers. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion, Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Pat.
I've reached a sad point in my life. I'm starting to become old guy sports fan. And I used to make fun of old guy sports fan, right? I'm 30 years old now. I got 2 kids, I got a mortgage, I live in the suburbs. What the hell happened to me? And the thing that made me realize this is Joe Louis Arena is closing this year, where they play hockey. And I've been there a couple of times. It's my favorite arena ever. And the Sabres play the Red Wings when I'm on vacation from work, December 27th. I want to go one last time. So I start going through my phone and texting guys, and they can't come with me because they got kids, or their wife says they can't go, or they can't get vacation time because they have big boy, real people jobs. I'm now that old guy that opens up the paper and checks out the box score from the night before, or just tries to catch all the highlights I can while I'm reading my daughter a book before she goes to bed, or trying to get dinner for the kids so they'll just stop talking for a little while. I'm afraid of what's going to happen moving forward. I used to know everything, man. All the stats stuck in my head every minute of every game I watched, and it's slowly going away. All I have left now, much like you men realized long ago, are the memories of being that diehard sports fan I once
Do you know what's
was.
the best part of that story is that he pretends he has friends.
You didn't get my text? You don't want to go to Detroit with me?
Can't be 23 forever.
I have to confess, I have a little bit of a wacky routine on Sunday mornings. I wake up relatively early, very early actually, about 6:37 for some ungodly reason. I go downstairs and I turn on the TV and start watching European soccer. Been doing it for the past few years, and if Formula One racing's on, I'll do that too. I don't know what it is. There's something about the appeal of watching European anything that early in the morning. Just a live sporting event, no matter what it is. If I can watch it, I'm going to be watching it. And it just happens to be the way I start my day. And that carries me up to about 11:30, when, of course, I then watch the college sports feed. Like all of you should, too.
There's a cure for that. It's like, I am Dave, and I watch European soccer in the morning.
You need to
Hi,
go to
Dave.
Detroit with him.
Maybe I should.
No, watching that crap on TV. Not the sports thing. Okay, sorry.
I was watching the Patriots Seahawks game, and I thought it was a fantastic game. And the part that stuck out in the game a couple of weeks ago to me was when Bill Belichick wasn't the smartest guy in the room, and he usually is. And it was the moment when Pete Carroll decided, not to get too specific, but they were up 7 after a touchdown, going for the extra point. And Pete Carroll, with 4 minutes to go, said, we're going for 2. And they have the shot of Belichick going, why are they going for 2? You can read his lips. It was brilliant by Pete Carroll, and it still didn't work. You go for 2 because you'd be up by 9 points. You'd put the Patriots in a spot where they would need the ball twice. It didn't work. They didn't get it. Patriots got the ball, drove down, and they ended up stopping at the goal line. The worst that would have happened for Seattle was New England would have scored. They would have kicked extra point. You would have gone to overtime. Same choice they would have had if they were up by 8. Pete Carroll was thinking next level. That's normally Bill Belichick. He's got his match there with Carroll. They're the two guys that have enough cachet. They can get away with taking some chances. I like the move. I'm surprised Belichick didn't come up with it first.
I thought that was stupid.
I thought it was brilliant. I think it's brilliant because it gives you the opportunity to seal the game with your offense on one play as opposed to waiting to see what Brady's going to do. With one drive, which got him down to the goal line, most cases, they score the touchdown and you're sweating out the 2-point conversion. If you're up by 9, the game is over.
All righty. This portion of the Rochester Press Box brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Dave, nice to have you in, man.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
I still don't agree, though.
Brilliant move. And it didn't work.
And Pat.
Somebody hang out with me.
You're too old. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week at the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House.